y'all are both originally from Milwaukee,
Correct.
right? Born and raised, you know Milwaukee.
Yes. This is the picture where we baptize all our newborns and any member who joined Hephatha in lead-free water. We want to make sure all babies do not suffer from lead in the city of Milwaukee.
We're an environmental justice organization on behalf of the water. We're trying to build a multicultural, anti-racist movement on behalf of the water. So much of our work has really been trying to transform ourselves and also transform our sector.
Cross is really known for being an outward focused church, which has probably kept us alive all these years and kept us more vibrant.
So on the back it says Hephatha Peacemaker, and then it has the peace sign in the middle with the cross behind it, and then inside of the peace sign it says kindness.
They definitely helped me get my voice, and I'm definitely glad that I still have a voice and I'm able to advocate and speak up for all the injustice that's going on.
I'm Pastor Nick Peñaranda, Program Director of African Descent Ministries. Thank you for joining us for Talks of the Desk, an African Descent Ministries project for Black History Month. I am here in the Milwaukee area with the greatest and latest
Reverend Michelle Townsend Day Lopez, pastor here at Cross Lutheran for approximately now 12 years. I actually grew up here, and so it's been a very interesting journey to come back as an associate pastor and then approximately 2 years later become the senior pastor. I knew a lot of the people when I was growing up with their kids, hanging out at their house, and now I'm pastoring them. But over time, a mutual respect has certainly developed. I've still seen them always as my elders, and so sometimes it's been harder for me to just remind myself that I am indeed their pastor, which is sort of a sweet spot because I knew them before and I know them now, so I've seen the changes. Cross is really known for being an outward focused church, which has probably kept us alive all these years and kept us more vibrant because we had the pulse on the community, and then we also were able to have a lot of partnerships, not just with our other urban Lutheran churches, but a number of other churches and NGOs in the area, which has kept us, like I said, viable, but also really realizing where is the energy, where should we be, focusing, and how do we need to continue to be relevant.
When I came inside, your building, aside from being just stunning, had some really distinct features. I'm wondering if you can tell me about some of the architecture here.
Well, this was the vision of the developers of this building. Larry and Sharon Adams wanted this to be an environmental hub in the center of the Black community. So, and they wanted to really model what an environmental building or landscape architecture should be. So, for example, we have a cistern up under the paved parking lot, and the pavements are permeable so that the water, we capture the water where it comes. We have bioswales around to also, in rain gardens, also capture the water, and we also have rain chains that that filter the water down. Is that correct, Kristen?
Yeah, and those rain chains, as you saw them come in, they're portraits of community leaders and folks, residents from the neighborhood. And so this really, the building and the story of the building is really underpinned by storytelling and telling the story of this community as a resilient community, the history here, and the leaders that live here. And so I think that also shows up in our space a lot.
I mean, Lindsay Heights is a neighborhood, and we want to come here and be sure that people know that we're not into regentification, because a lot of times when you have things come up that are green infrastructure and you see new development, that's what it means. But these developers were born in this neighborhood and still live in this neighborhood. So this is we're doing this on behalf and in solidarity with the community, not necessarily for charitable reasons. We know that for the sustainability of our movement, it must involve all people. Every culture has a water history, has a water story. We look at the Milwaukee River, right? Milwaukee River has been a pathway of freedom for African American folks. There's a stop of the Underground Railroad in the Milwaukee River, as there is one here in this neighborhood, Lindsay Heights. So people are coming up from the water and then going into the interior to get away from slavers, right? I mean, that's a significant piece of history that people, and so that tells us that that water was there 100 or 200 or 300 years ago, and we must be responsible to have that water here 300, 400, 500 years from now. We have the responsibility to steward this water, because this is all we got, you know, and we have to take care of it. So that's what we're engaging people around those issues as well, that their responsibility for something that belongs to all of us.
And through the water school, we were able to learn those concepts. We had some people that I've talked about previously in our leadership that were biochemical engineers and other things like that. And so they were able to teach some of those areas and in a way that, you know, 4-year-olds could understand it as well as the rest of us. But it became part of our vacation Bible school. Yes. And then we followed that up in Sunday school. So it was another way to start early, educating people about water through our baptism, but also how are we good stewards with water through this. And so it was a way to start advocacy early, as well as the water that we live with in all the ways of our faith and our wholeness.
See, we don't see water as a resource. We see it as a gift. And so and a friend. And so how do you treat a friend? Sometimes you will do something for a friend that's not necessarily in your best interest, right? So we have to be respectful of the ecosystem as well, you know. And sometimes it's not just there for us. Yeah. It is there for its own existence and beauty.
And you could probably hear it under how we're talking, but we definitely invite spirituality into our conversations around water. I mean, We Are Water is one of those spaces where we've had folks from many different traditions come and speak, but also just, I think we're influenced by a more spiritual or philosophical approach, which can be cultural, it can be religious, to looking at water as something to steward, as a friend.
Linda Riley. I'm the president of the council here at Evangelical Lutheran Church. I've been a member for 43 years.
I'm Larisha Love. I guess my title is a young leader here around here. And I've been here consistently for the past 7 years. And came when I was a baby, but more consistently the past 7 years.
We have the Strong Baby Sanctuary that we're a part of, that the city advocated it, and we became one of the churches that they chose to do it. We're strong in our Strong Baby Sanctuary, Blanket of Love. Right now we're servicing 50 birthing moms and babies and over 200 kids.
Is there any work that y'all do with or at elected officials or policymakers to help change legislation in a way that supports single parents or infants, especially that might be struggling with like lead poisoning?
We had a meeting right here on this altar in 2019. That meeting went citywide. Aldermen came due to the strong support that we kept showing up at Hephatha, and the people who joined us kept showing up at downtown at City Hall. So a lot of things got changed with the lead, and the money that the government gave during the pandemic developed a fund for the lead emergency immediately, only. And I think that was a very strong advocacy with us in the city.
Yeah, I do think that's the most major one. It's the one that's killing our children the most, in a sense, or affecting our children the most. So one thing that Hephatha don't do, we don't let up off that gas. If we want it done and we need it done, that we have so many people that stand behind us, so many people in this congregation that stand behind us, that we won't let up off that gas. It needs to be done.
I am the bookkeeper for Hephatha Lutheran Church. I have been a bookkeeper for this church for 26 years. I joined this church on December 10th, 1995. It's been exhilarating. I didn't want to do it at first. I didn't even want to join, but my wife, who's the piano player here, urged me to join when we started having children, so I felt it was the right thing to do to have my children grow up in church. Voting is very important to me. It's also, we have a member, Pastor Joseph Elwanger, who's also into getting the vote out. The reason voting is important to me is because it's important to my fraternity, Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated, where we believe a voteless people is a hopeless people. The main thing that I want people to understand is that people sometimes in lower socioeconomic areas don't see the importance of the vote. And I just want people, I want to stress to people that your vote is your vote. Your vote equalizes you with people who make more money than you. It is the one thing every American has, and that's their vote. And like I said, if your vote didn't count, then there would not be any type of initiatives to take it away or to limit it. You're not going to limit a vote if it doesn't count. So vote like your life depends on it.
You consistently bring up advocacy and direct action. And I think this is such an important thing for us to kind of get into, because a lot of churches, not always action, but direct service, right? Folks like to do things, and oftentimes it's to make us feel better, right? But it's like, we're gonna meet the immediate need. We're going to feed people right now because people are hungry right now, which is fine. But then the advocacy piece does something a little different. I would love it if you can just like talk a bit more about how these two things kind of like work together in this context.
Okay. I think the past leaders, because we're standing on some pretty broad shoulders here, those of us who are pastors now in this urban context of Milwaukee, and they were pastors that did both and. I mean, they always did both and they would say, you know, this is your entry point, meaning like, you know, if it's a food pantry or if it's a clothing, you know, wardrobe kind of shelter or whatnot, those are entry points. Remember, we talk about charity, but that is not where we're supposed to stay. That's where we enter. And so if we really want people to have full lives and abundance, then it means here's the hard work. That's the stuff that, yeah, you start to know the people, get the stories, and build relationships. But how do we change their lives so that we're not in this business? Hopefully, we will go out of this business. Right. Because if we do, that means that we're doing the work we're supposed to be doing, which is changing the systems. Right. And you know, and that's the piece that a lot of people don't want to talk about. But it's the systems that have put us in this direct piece of having to meet the people's immediate needs. But we have to go back and deal with the system so that this doesn't continue to be a generational problem for families.
How has the issue of lead, how has that impacted community members here?
So the Branch family, Deanna, Aidan, and Jaidyn, it's a mom and her two boys, and Aidan, I think more specifically, was hit more. And sometimes people would just like view it as something negative until you know what the underlying issue is. And once we all learned that underlying issue, it was very hard for anybody in this congregation to turn a blind eye or not be as more supportive as we was in the beginning. It was kind of hard to not help or like get more information or read up on it on yourself, so like you know what you could do to help them and benefit them. You know, it was put out there to the point where the VP is reaching out to them by name and like making sure that they're good.
The VP of what?
Like the VP of the United States. It's Kamala Harris.
Okay.
Yeah.
The Vice President of the United States is reaching out to a member here at Hephatha over not only what they experienced, but how they're telling their story.
Mm-hmm. I mean, speaking them by name and speeches and all.
The Vice President is letting Deanna tell her own story. Deanna has been telling her story from day one. She knew what was wrong with her son, and she was a strong mother. She still is a strong mother. She stays strong for her son. She makes sure changes happen for her son. Yes, I got to give her my hats off to. Yes.
Give her her flowers. Yeah.
She was ill for almost 9 months. She still fought for her son. She fought to stay alive, to fight for her son.
It was mentioned that like everything that Aidan was going through, in addition to what Aidan was going through, you were also going through your own stuff.
Yeah, what I went through happened a little bit later on, but I've been advocating for Aidan, because he's 9 now. So I think he was hospitalized first at 2, and then later on he was hospitalized again. But yeah, even after my health issues, and I learned how to talk again and breathe on my own and walk, the first thing I did was come back to the church and kept advocating for everything that Aidan went through to make sure it doesn't happen to any other kid. So it definitely was my motivation, and my voice, of course, to keep pressing the issue and not staying silent about what I just felt like no child should have to go through. So they definitely helped me get my voice, and I'm definitely glad that I still have a voice and I'm able to advocate and speak up for all the injustice that's going on, because it's just been so many times where I was just ashamed, and it was really Aidan. He felt so welcomed and loved here at the church, and he really wanted me to bring him here. And, Pastor noticed my apprehension, and she just made me feel so welcome and loved here. And she welcomed me to share my story and use my voice. And when I spoke up, I just received so much positive influence, and I heard so many other stories that were just, it was too similar to mine, to the point where I was uncomfortable. So just hearing that I wasn't alone, and hearing that other families were going through this, that made me say like, okay, well, we're not going to let them just keep doing this to our children. We're going to advocate. And that's really how the Coalition of Lady Emergency and Co-Parents League came about. Just parents advocating for the health and the rights of their children, advocating for their community. I finally feel validated as a parent, as a mother, and for helping my community, that they definitely know our story. It's definitely reached out, and I definitely know now that I should never been ashamed. Learning all that I learned now on my own, through my own research. It just feels very good to know that I'm not a bad parent, that Aidan's not a bad child, and my community stands behind me, and they stand behind my son, and now we have people advocating for us, and we're advocating for them. It just feels so good that after all the years and the things that we've been through, to come to this point where we're not homeless anymore. He's not in the house that's literally killing him. I'm not paying rent there. It's just a great feeling. It's just after all we've been through, we literally turned tragedy into triumph, I felt like.
I noticed that in the back of the book, it mentioned some conversations with the Vice President, Kamala Harris, and I am so curious to hear how that initial interaction even went.
My boss, Richard Diaz, I was in a meeting with Pastor, actually, when he kept calling me. And at first I thought he was just pulling my leg. He said, "Oh, the Vice President wants to meet you." I'm like, "Yeah, okay, I'll call you back later." And I'm like, "Wait, what?" So I had to call him back and just figure out exactly what he was talking about and what Vice President, what he was speaking of. But yeah, he said she wants to meet with me. She wants to hear Aidan's story. And at the time, I don't know how long it was when I just got out of the hospital, and I was walking without my walker, but I was still a little, so I was just nervous about, I almost didn't make it to the event because it was snowing and I wasn't wearing the right shoes, and I was just ready to give up. But luckily, the Secret Service saw I was struggling. He helped me get to the event because it was blocked off for like 2 blocks. They wouldn't let my Uber driver come into it was just nerve-wracking, to say the least. But it was definitely worth it just to hear and see her. And she just made me feel so at ease that she was whispering the whole time, like, don't look directly into the camera lights. Don't be nervous. You're doing fine. You're a great mother. And she actually listened to my story, and she actually heard me, and it felt very good to be there and just felt surreal. Working with Cole now, there's still a lot that needs to be done, but it's good that I feel like I'm a part of what's being done, even though I see now that even with all the funding and advocacy we're doing, there's still so much left that we need to do, and it's going to be a long journey.
Yes.
But I'm glad to be a part of it. This is literally the best job I've ever had.
So this art was done by an art committee here at the building. So it wasn't Milwaukee Water Commons specific, but all of these different pieces were done by students based on interviews with local residents who are really underpinning the Lindsay Heights neighborhood. And so I think there's a sense that we really want to be rooted here, even while our work is more regional. I mean, it's Milwaukee wide, we speak on the regional level, but we think our power and our strength comes from being rooted in our community. And that's a big part of our work.
Yeah. You had mentioned that you designed a shirt for your church.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Would you be willing to show us that?
Yeah, of course. This here's Hephatha Peacemaker shirt. We all wore this one Sunday, and we all took pictures in it. Here's the back. So on the back it says Hephatha Peacemaker, then it has the peace sign in the middle with the cross behind it, and then inside of the peace sign it says kindness, right there. On the front, we have a dove, which I think is the most fitting bird to represent peace. We have the words peace, love, and joy, and we have that little design right there. Would you like to know what was going through my head when I was initially designing?
Of course, I want you to give us the whole everything.
Okay, so my pastor, that's how she initially told me. She was like, I want something for our peacemakers. And that's really what I like to capture, that word peacemaker. What does it mean to be a peacemaker? It doesn't mean someone who just is at peace. A peacemaker exerts all these things. They exert love, they exert joy, they exert kindness, they better the people around them. They ease the worries and the troubles of the people around them. And that's what this church does, And that's once you become a part of this church, you basically become someone who does those things. So anyone who becomes a part of this church is automatically a peacemaker, because it's just what we do,
That's really great, and I think that says a lot about how you interpret the work of your church.
Yeah. I want kids to feel comfortable to express themselves, We have a lot of creative kids. I've seen a lot of creative kids, but I know there's probably even more that are just scared to come out or that are just waiting to come out,
Yep.
I want them to feel like this is a safe space for that. And I feel like through my art, through the community, through all the friendliness that, I exude, I think that kids will be more confident to share that. And, I think that'll erupt, and inspire a whole bunch of kids. I hope, at least.
How do you think Hephatha has prepared you to be community leaders?
My grandma, she go to church here, and I kind of was coming to church with her, so she kind of brought me up here. That's kind of why I stayed. When I was in high school, I thought I wanted to work with computers, but as I've been helping out with the teen class more and more, it kind of showed me what I really want to do, and that was become a teacher. I want to be able to help more kids, read more so they can get just so they can get a better intellect, I want to be someone that kids can look up to, and that they have this positive person in their life that they can come to just talk about whatever it is that's bothering them.
So we've been talking with other people from your community about the really important work that has been going on, especially with lead. And y'all have your own personal story with that, correct?
Yes.
Would you want to tell me about it?
So my book is called Aidan the Lead-Free Superhero. I created like a year ago, and I'm glad to make it like my book and about me.
Aidan the Lead-Free Superhero book. It's a book that I wrote and my son illustrated about his experience with being lead poisoned. He suffered, they both were lead poisoned, but he suffered the severity of it. He was hospitalized twice due to the severity of the lead poisoning in his blood, and he was later diagnosed with a lot of other problems, ADHD, ODD, and other emotional things that were going on. So it was actually Aidan's idea and his beautiful illustrations that really inspired me to write the words that were written to create this book about his experience with lead. He even created his own 3 different characters for lead in the paint, water, and the soil. Those are the 3 main causes for lead exposure in children.
And while I was creating the book, I thought about something else. While I was creating the book, I wanted to make another book. I wondered if I am able to make another book about something else. My book is called Scary Frights. I want to make it a scary one, a scary book.
So Aidan, when I got to take a look at the book, I saw that maybe that you were in the hospital for a few days at a time, and at one point, like, family couldn't visit. How was it being in the hospital?
It was sad and kind of happy. And there was Legos there. I made a pirate ship.
That's very cool.
And I almost died due to the rate of my lead poisoning. But I'm glad I'm still alive in this year.
Yeah, us too.
For Aidan just to be here, to be talking and as active as he is, I'm just so proud of him.
Yeah.
He's in it since this pandemic. He hasn't been able to really swim. That was his passion, and now he found a new passion because now he can't stop drawing and talking about writing books.
Yeah.
So just to hear him already planning another book for Black History Month, already planning the Lead-Free Superhero 2, just keeping that creative process going. I didn't know he had a knack for art until this really came about. So I'm just so proud of everything that we've been doing, that's transpired since everything that's happened with him. I'm just proud of you, Aidan.
When are we going to make the new book again?
He's been asking me that. We just got this one published, and he's already.
Let me ask Aidan and Jaidyn, a question. How has it been, or how does it feel to know that your stories are helping your community?
It's because anytime if I write books, I'm trying to write books just so other lead poison people and kids and people, for them to feel better, and I'm trying to make them try to stop to eating the walls and through lead paint, and stop drinking water from the sink.
How about you? How has it felt seeing your stories being used to help your community?
To help other kids like Aidan who are suffering from lead, kids around the world, like from Milwaukee to all the way to like the different states and the countries.
That's awesome. Aidan, I'm wondering, would you be willing to read your book to us?
Okay.
Thank you.
Once upon a time, there was a little boy named Aidan who lived in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. One day, Aidan received a visit from the lead monster. The lead monster crept into the house through the lead paints and the window sills and the water pipes and the soil around the house. Aidan soon became ill and had to take 2 very long trips to the children's hospital. Aidan was very lonely in the hospital. He felt sad that his family and friends couldn't visit him longer. His older brother Jaidyn brought a gift to Aidan from the church pastor. It was a prayer blanket that he told Aidan contained healing powers that would help him get well soon. Aidan wrapped himself in the prayer blanket and immediately began to feel its worth and power. Soon Aidan was well enough to turn home, and that day he became Super Aidan, the lead-free superhero. The Aidan now flies all over Milwaukee, teaching children how to fight the lead monster by eating healthy green leafy vegetables, washing their hands often, and staying away from paint and only drinking lead-free water. Wherever there's a child in need, Super Aidan will be there to thwart the lead monster's evil plan. To be continued, because the war on lead never ends for Super Aidan.
Thank you so much. I also noticed that in your book, you have a poem for your sons. Yeah. Would you be willing to read it for us?
Yeah. I think I made this while I was in the hospital, and I got the chance to write it down when I got back writing again. So I tell Jaidyn and Aidan they really helped me get back home to them. And this is titled A Poem for My Sons. Your skin is the most beautiful color of black sand from Africa, and your hair is as wild and free as the lion that roams the jungle. For truly I tell you that it is indeed a blessing to be born black. Though some might try to deceive you and tell you that your blessing is a curse, and they will hate you simply because of the color of your skin, I ask that you rise above that hate, as high as the pyramids of Egypt that our ancestors built. I ask that you face their hate and blind it with the love that I have shown you, for God is love. Stand beside your brothers and sisters, for united we stand strong, but divided you will fall. And when you do fall, seek refuge in the house of the Lord, for God will strengthen you in grace and faith to complete this journey called life. Remember that you are a descendant of royalty, a king in this world, lost without a crown. May my words of wisdom guide you. May God's light shine upon you in your darkest days. And may the spirit of our ancestors that dwells within your soul remind you that I am somebody. Whenever someone tries to tell you that your black life doesn't matter,